in the neighborhood. A beautiful day for a neighbor. Always wanted to have a neighbor that doesn't ask me to keep it down about the orthodontists. Always wanted to live in a neighborhood where they don't ask me to stop yelling about the orthodontists. It's just a little cold in here. Okay. The Yosh Jefferson orthodontist thing started out as a joke. It's not a joke anymore. This is what I've been doing. I've been researching orthodontists for about the last, since I made that orthodontist video, that's pretty much what I've been doing. I haven't been, it's been, 7 to 9 hours a day of orthodontist research. Maybe like 12 months. It's been a lot, which I know sounds like a big waste of time and energy, but if you knew the things I know now about orthodontists, you'd be in the same position. You'd just have no choice but to get this information out there. So, but before we get into the actual information, which is going to be the bulk of this video, we're just going to have a quick drink and a snack. Don't worry, it's not actually Arm & Hammer. It's mostly water, a little bit of soy sauce. I make myself laugh sometimes. Yeah, it's a little soapy, but the salt covers it up pretty well. From the soy sauce, and we're gonna have some shredded cheese and olives as well. This is the mukbang section. Need some soy sauce, like that, to make it a little saltier. Yeah, that was pretty salty. And then wash it all down with some Arm & Hammer. Ooh, I don't feel good. It's pretty soapy. All right.
Welcome to Orthodontic Smiles, a podcast designed for all dentists and their staffs who practice orthodontics.
You motherfuckers. These people make me sick.
This podcast is brought to you by the American Orthodontic Society.
Oh, yeah, you hear that? Blood-drinking reptilian. Getting crazy over here on the orthodontic podcast.
With over 50,000 patients treated with this innovative aligner technology.
Okay, enough propaganda.
And aesthetic treat henryscheinrein.com. Holly, New Jersey, has been practicing for about 35 years.
There we go. That's about Yosh Jefferson. He's from New Jersey.
And has developed a very unique knowledge of facial aesthetics.
Yeah.
He is an author.
Yeah, he's big on that, facial aesthetics. For example, this is a Yosh Jefferson paper here. There is this is the abstract. He just starts off like this. There is a universal standard for facial beauty regardless of race, age, sex, and other variables. Beautiful faces have ideal proportion. Ideal proportion is directly related to divine proportion. He keeps calling it divine proportion through this whole, in all the other papers too, instead of the golden ratio, divine proportion. It just sounds like it was written in 1909 by someone who would later be like, well, I didn't think they would take it there. I was just doing science. This basically means he wants to make his life easier by lying to the public. More important treatment is blah, 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 blah. Okay, great. And what's the next one? Facial aesthetics, presentation of an ideal face. Why? That's Yosh Jefferson. There's not another Y Jefferson. There appears to be, now he makes this weak concession. There appears to be a general consensus that a universal standard for facial aesthetics is impossible due to so many variables. Blah, 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 blah. It is my conviction that a universal standard is not only possible but highly desirable. In order for this to occur, it must be fully understood the facial and proportions again. There he goes. It's not even like PragerU. It's like on another level of. I can't believe he has a career. Husband, oh yeah, this is mouth breathing. Okay, we've covered that, so I'm just gonna leave this alone for now. But remember, this is the mouth breathing guy, Yosh Jefferson. That's him. I'm bringing you down, buddy. I'm ending your career today. Yeah, skeletal types. Skeletal type. What does that remind me of? Where have I heard that before? emphasis on skeletal types to figure out whose faces and brains are better than, or sorry, we're just talking orthodontics. We're just talking about mandibles, and I think there's soap in my nose. Oh, am I bleeding? It's advantageous to be attractive. Many would find this special treatment objectionable and unfair. That's true, Yosh. How about, what do you think about it? The irony is that beautiful individuals make up a very small percentage of the population. They have very little power to dictate how society should act and behave. I don't think that's the concern. I don't think the concern is that beautiful people, unless, are you saying that, Yosh, that beautiful people, you would think, control the world like puppet masters, but actually counterintuitively, that's not the case? I don't think anyone thinks that. They have very little. The concern is not that there's a cabal of people with golden ratio or divine proportion faces at the top of society ruling everything. The concern is on the individual level, that they're getting that people get special treatment. And it's not, nobody's blaming the beautiful people in the first place. It's the fact that this is like a complex, broad system. Anyway, he just is sort of sloppily dismissing the idea that it could be undesirable for people to be treated differently just based on the appearance of their faces. I mean, he doesn't even accept that initial axiom that that's not the way we want our society to operate. Yosh Jefferson is just like, okay, so how do I monetize this? How do I change your face to the way that the divine, the objective, universal standard of divine beauty, the 1 to 1.618, blah, 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 blah. Anyway, okay, so you get the idea that this guy's basically a Nazi. So here's his book. Oh, let me go to the other, okay. So the man himself, Yosh Jefferson, here he is.
Hello, my name is Dr. Yosh Jefferson.
There he is. That's him.
I'm located in Mount Holly, New Jersey. Dr. Dirk.
I know where you are, Yosh Jefferson. It's not a threat. I'm just ending your career. I'm not threatening you in any other way. Just ending your career.
To do a video demonstration of my Jefferson septal analysis. I am more than happy to do so.
It's the classic move of using pseudoscientific long words to sound like there's some empirical basis for the claims you're making. It's not, I mean, is that Tom Cruise behind him there? No.
But I like to inform you that the Jefferson septal analysis is a
that is, I don't know if I'll be able to find it, but I noticed when I was doing research, I noticed that a lot of orthodontists have a real penchant for naming things after themselves.
I am much abbreviated version of the Sassoni archaeoanalysis, and I'd like to give Dr. Viken Sassoni credit where credit is due. I would also like to.
My head feels kind of light from. I hope it's not from. I washed out the Arm and Hammer really well, I thought, but. All right. Okay. So now that you've seen the man, let's look at some reviews of his practice. 1.5 stars. Ooh. Ouch. Where are the reviews? How do you look at the? There we go. Okay. 2 stars. I haven't fully decided how I feel about this place, but you gave it 2 stars. That sounds like a decision to me. I went in the other day for consultation for TMJ and blah, 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 blah. World-renowned expert. Yeah, I mean, among the imaginary pseudo-cult field of orthodontics. Yeah, world-renowned, sure. It was incredibly world-renowned in the same way that some other illegitimate expert operating within an illegitimate field that happens to be represented in different parts of the world you could be world-renowned in that sense. So if that's what you mean, yeah, I suppose. When Dr. Jefferson came in, he was brisk and to the point. Felt rather rushed, perhaps a little disrespected. Which, I mean, this is a pretty mild review. You see some other reviews, you'll get a sense of what's actually going on here. Okay, and this is a theme too that you'll see. Didn't ask many questions to find out the specifics of my problems. Okay, 1 star. Dr. Jefferson's the worst dentist I've ever been to. He is smug, also a pattern, talks down to women, Yeah, yeah, I've seen that a couple times. Doesn't give thorough information. That's a pattern, which you'll see. Okay, blah blah blah. Other dentists on tap, Dr. Soto is also very professional and much better. And to be clear, probably Soto is actually a dentist, not an orthodontist, like Yosh Jefferson. 1 star. Practice is awful. I had a crown done there, chipped twice. Okay, so he's doing crappy work, and let's see, is he talking about Yosh Jefferson? Not really. So let's keep watching the Yosh Jefferson video here.
Gentlemen, I owe a great deal. So let's begin. Thank you. An excellent.
The Satanic Bible itself. There it is. By the way, on Amazon, to get his book, it's $140, and it's paperback. For his, I wanted to buy it. I wanted to get it and go through it and then destroy it ceremonially, but I'm not dropping $140 on
Manual to learn how to do my Jefferson supplementary analysis.
Yeah.
Is the
All right, I've collected a number of old pseudoscience books from the 1910 to 1930. I'm set, Yosh. I've got what I need in that department.
manual that I had published several years ago, and they will be available once they're
And I gotta say, oh well, yeah. Listen to this real quick, actually. Then I'll make it.
published several years ago.
Published several years ago.
And they will be available once becomes available. Right now,
It'll be available once becomes available.
we have some copyright issues
Copyright issues. The real stand-up guy.
that I have to resolve.
So the point I want to make is that this says Yosh Jefferson, international lecturer and published author. Why I couldn't? Unless it means the bunk medical papers that he's written. That's usually not what published author means. Usually it means published, like you've written a book. This is the only book he's written. So why would you put that you're a published author to promote the book that's the only book he's written? Does that make sense? It's weird to do. Anyway, just building himself up. So okay, and then basically he does all this pseudoscience, blah 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 blah, da 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 da. Okay, so you get the idea.
That's the plane that
and just for good measure, we'll go ahead and click through the just to give him a fair shake. This is the second part of the video. He's doing just absolute. Okay, let's go back to this.
International lecturer, and he is a diplomate of the International Association of Orthodontists.
Blood drinkers.
Well, welcome, Dr. Yosh Jefferson, to Orthodontics Mouth Podcast. For years, I've listened to you lecture, and you have lectured all over the world, specifically about facial beauty. I want you to kind of get us started with that. I know this goes back thousands of years.
Thousands of years.
Your lectures. So why don't you get started and kind of give us an update from 1,000 years ago to now?
Well, I'll tell you. First of all, when I started doing orthodontics, facial beauty, enhancing facial aesthetics was my big thing. I didn't care about TMJ. I didn't care about airway. I said, if we're doing orthodontics, especially functional orthodontics, we can literally change facial appearance. And we can either make it worse or make it better. I like to make it better. What is facial beauty? What is the definition? And so many people said, well, it's different for every race, age, and sex, and it's subjective, and you can't really define it.
But I, Yosh Jefferson, thought to myself, no!
Wouldn't take that as an answer, because then we're just throwing darts when we're treating our patients. We have to.
Yeah, it couldn't possibly be the case. Couldn't possibly be the case that my professional pursuit is spurious in the first place. That's not a possible explanation. So it must be that. This is like he's created a reductio ad absurdum of his own field, and that's what he lives in. It's insane. It's I can't believe it.
I started reading Robert Reckitt's article on Fibonacci numerical series. I read it. I had to read it 3 times before I finally realized that he was talking about divine proportion. And divine proportion is not new. It's been around for a couple of thousand years. It was originally discussed by a sculptor by the name of Phidias, a Greek sculptor. And
Yeah, here we are, and we're back in PragerU territory now.
he talked about proportion. So it's divine proportion, golden proportion, phi, whatever you call it. There is a numerical number.
Let me find. That reminds me. What's the thing? What is these? I think it must be this one. Yeah, this. Okay. They will not accept what has been presented with the usual excuse that they are anecdotal, which they are. I mean, he doesn't address that really, and not supported in the scientific world with rat and monkey studies. It'd be a waste of rats and monkeys. Although the concepts presented are complicated and controversial, I've attempted to present them clearly and simply with many references. That's a good way to, when you have a pseudo field that's basically held up with bubble gum and scattered jargon and a lot of money, you can say here I've presented the knowledge of the field simply, I've dumbed it down, but there's real expertise. This is the simplified version. The simplified version is all there is. He's just making it up as he goes. He's just creating this virtual body of knowledge. There is, and it doesn't exist. He's making these things up. There will be those, however, who will stubbornly continue to disbelieve the efficacy of functional appliance and TMD therapy, even though in the real world there are many successes with human patients. With time, the truth will become self-evident. Many successes with... Notice he doesn't say broadly and consistently replicated studies doing... No, he's just... There are many... Oh, that's funny. That sounds kind of anecdotal. But that's just the usual excuse. Oh, someone's calling me. Okay, we're back. It was the dealership calling me about my car's extended warranty. Back to this podcast here.
8, and that's a very important number.
Very important number. It is because I say it is. I'm Yosh Jefferson.
If you take the measurement from the top of the head to the bottom of the chin, and also from cheek to cheek, okay? The cheek, from cheek to cheek, which is the widest part of your face, if that's 1, then the length of the face from the top of the head to the bottom of the chin should be 1.618. If it's shorter than 1.618, I call that a short face syndrome. If it's longer than 1.618...
Your face doesn't seem to be aligning with my arbitrary designation of ideal facial proportions. I think you need to pay me thousands and thousands of dollars to correct it.
I call that the long face syndrome.
So he's going to have a long face as Yosh Jefferson once I end his career today.
And if the face is long, the longer the face, there is aesthetic problem associated with that.
It's a pseudoscience-y way of saying, you're ugly. I'm Yosh Jefferson. I'm the arbiter of beauty. Oh, I got an eyelash in my cheese. That's gross. See, I don't even make claims like it's universally gross that there's an eyelash in my cheese because of some Greek fucking bullshit.
But if it's within 1 to 1.61...
By the way, I know what I'm doing is propaganda, but I think it's okay given that, well, on the one hand, given that there's way more pro-orthodontic propaganda out there. So it's not like I'm really even putting a dent in their outreach and misinformation. But, I mean, even putting that aside, yeah, what was my other point? Why is it okay that I'm... Oh, because I'm on the right side of this. It's okay for me to use, whatever rhetorical strategies and be emotional and dramatic and dismissive because as it happens, I'm right about in this particular case.
And people say, well, what about blacks, Asians, Hispanics, Middle Eastern? They all have different criteria. I said, nope, no matter what race you are considered having a beautiful profile.
Could you give me an example of what, if you look...
Yeah, God. Please, an example, Yosh Jefferson. Can you illustrate your point with even one example?
What I do in my practice is I kind of look at draw a line from the nose to the chin, and if I can get the lips pretty close to that line.
I mean, this is the most psychotic conversation I've ever heard.
That's my aesthetic criteria for what looks to be
Yeah, they love to use that word, aesthetic.
a young person who has looked way behind.
Right. I think you're talking about the aesthetic line
Yes.
from the example.
It's like listening to Scientologists argue about the minutiae of space travel.
Well, the Jefferson 7 analysis, I'm not going to say that I developed it because it's
I'm not going to say I developed it, but I am going to name it after myself. It's not like this is an unusual thing for orthodontists to do. I'm not saying this is something particularly wrong with Yosh Jefferson. The naming things after yourself compulsively is an orthodontic problem, not a Yosh Jefferson problem.
believe it or not, my analysis is going worldwide. I've had people contact me from Africa, Middle East, Asia. I wrote a manual called Jefferson 7 Analysis. He wanted to buy.
There it is, $140, $140
My
bucks.
manual, and for his son.
Like, don't you make enough money?
And I said, did you tell him that I was a general dentist? He said, no.
All right, well, and that's about as much of that as I can take. There's a few more reviews. I know there's a few more reviews around of permanently closed. Huh. No. 1 star. No. Sounds about right for Yosh Jefferson. Seeing Dr. Jefferson for reversing. He's difficult to speak to. Speaks over you, forgets the treatment plan, yeah, which is the same as what you saw in the other ones. What really put the icing on the cake was when he said to me, "You do understand I'm not God." I felt like telling him, "No, you're a clueless dimwit. How did you survive in this profession all these years?" Because it's an illegitimate profession. That's how. He is now retired. Oh. Huh. So he... Okay. I guess his career is over already because he retired. So I guess I've just kind of been wasting my time. Huh, Yosh? Yeah, you did get the last laugh, didn't you? Shit. He's retired. What am I doing? He's... Yosh Jefferson, you were gonna be the first notch on my rifle. Now I'm left with none. You were the purpose in my life. Now I'm bereft and done. Yosh Jefferson, Yosh Jefferson, Yosh Jefferson. Your lies were suffocating, now your absence weighs a ton. My intoxicating rage against you made me run from all my pain and hung around like mist after rain and thunder. Now I wonder, did I ever really believe that I could take down orthodontistry and never even leave my fucking house? Thought I was the cat, turns out I was just the mouse. Yosh Jefferson, I was gonna get you cancelled, smeared, and fired. Then you retired. Yosh Jefferson, Yosh Jefferson. I don't really care that much about orthodontics, if I'm being honest. Yosh Jefferson.
Better be the fucking end.
I'm pretty sick of all this.
You're beating a dead horse. Literally, like, a dead horse.
Ha ha.